All right, good evening. We did the roll call enough to know we have a quorum. So we're going to move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 4, opening remarks. The superintendent is not here. Town manager is not here. So I think that means Mr. Bray is on the hot seat.
Well, gee, thank you, Mr. Garish. I appreciate that. I would just like to say that Mr. Bratt and I had a chance to tour the building last week. So I want to thank Alyssa and John for taking us to see it. The progress is amazing, and the excitement we already had is even more excitement to see all the progress and work going on. Everyone's doing a wonderful job, and we're just thankful again to the community. The work is bacon and everyone's efforts. And I know I speak for the staff and students that will be going over there in the fall. We're just very, very excited, and we thank everyone again for all their hard work and efforts.
Thank you. Yeah, things are looking great from a distance. All right, item 5, approval of the previous minutes from March 14th, 2022. Is there a motion?
Entertain a motion to approve.
Second, Mark.
Any discussion? All right, we'll take the roll.
John,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Harsh.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Thank you. Moving on to item 6, the OPM update. Good evening, Alyssa.
Hello, I'll go ahead and share my screen. Oh, sorry about that. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, I have 2 monitors, so forgive me. All right, so we get started. Progress report. So we have the schedule is on schedule. We had one last time incident where someone was cutting, they cut their hand, they got stitches. They were actually back at work the next day. But since it was a couple hours that they were getting stitches, it's considered a lost time incident. So that has restarted that number of lost time incidents. I think we were almost at 300 days before that happened. So they're just continuing to monitor. They did a toolbox talk. They sent out, information to people on, wearing gloves and safety, and we're just monitoring that. They do have construction risk management on site every week for safety walkthroughs. So they're continuing to do that. Those visits are unannounced. So they don't know when they're coming, but they try to make the building safe, and all the reports are uploaded and distributed to us, and we discuss safety on a weekly basis. So we're just continuing to monitor the site safety. As for progress, we're continuing with finishes throughout the building. So continuing with boarding, painting, flooring, casework, and tile. Continuing that ceiling grid and tile installation. So right now they're doing the perimeter cuts in the rooms, making sure everything is installed, labeled, inspected overhead, and shortly we'll be flooding the ceilings with ceiling tile and closing them up. We're continuing the exterior. We're doing the brick veneer, just finished. We're doing wash down and inspecting that to make sure there's no punch list. Exterior panels are ongoing, so you're starting to see the outside of the building change quite a bit. We're continuing with windows, curtain wall, skylight, and trim, and just continuing that in-wall rough plumbing and electrical. As for HVAC ductwork, that continues to go above the ceiling, and then we're really heavy into site work now with curbing, fencing, prepping and pouring sidewalks, and then taking care of those playground areas. So right now we're doing excavation for those foundations. So you'll start to see a lot of our exterior changing over the next few weeks. We've begun installing the elevator as well. So we've just continuing to meet and address things so we can open this building up on time. So go. Does anyone have any questions on the progress update? All right, so continuing into some of the photos, see the interior finishes, have those nice accent colors that are showing in the tile, but also the paint. Continuing that bathroom ceramic tile and grouting that. This is the media center storefront installation in the interior. And then again, we're continuing the elevator installation. Exterior panels are ongoing. And then our millwork is getting installed over the next few weeks as well. Again, very busy with the site work, sidewalk preparation and forms going on, and then installing electrical panels on the interior. So just going through some of the 3-week look ahead, pretty much continuing all the tasks that I mentioned in the progress report. We'll be pouring sidewalks and then continuing those site work foundations for the playgrounds, and then continuing to install those toilet accessories. Continuing the roof edge metal and low canopy roofs, and then we're heavy into the MEP work, building out those electrical rooms, starting to install light fixtures at the 2nd floor, and also devices at the 1st floor. We're installing theatrical lighting at the stage, and then wiring up HVAC rooftop units. And we're getting ready to fire those units up in early May. NB Kenny, we're continuing plumbing fixtures and gas piping to the rooftop units in the boiler room, continuing HVAC controls, rough and wire, dropping that duct into the grid on the 1st floor, and installing displacement diffusers. We're continuing to drop the sprinkler heads into the ceiling grid on the 1st floor. As we mentioned, masonry is winding down, so they're completing their punch list and they'll be off site soon. We're continuing to form and pour the future foundations for the playground areas, and then continuing that interior work with taping those skylights, framing the stage, boarding and taping the lobby and the kitchen, and then continuing terrazzo at the ground floor, and then interior caulking is ongoing as well. We're continuing the rail at the lobby bridge and the outside classrooms, continuing those storefronts at the interior, and beginning to trim and caulk all of the windows and storefronts and the curtain walls as well. As for painting, priming and finish coat last week, and then we're into finish coat at the 2nd floor in the building A, continuing that ceiling grid as we mentioned in the 1st floor, and then fiber cement siding is ongoing at this point, continuing toilet room, wall tile, and floor tile throughout the building, and then continuing that casework and millwork throughout. We're continuing rubber floor tile at the 2nd and 1st floors, and then as for site work, continuing to prep those sidewalks, install curbs, excavate for the playground, and then finalize that retaining wall. The elevator is being installed, and then the fence and fence post, that's ongoing as well. Did anyone have any questions on the 3-week look ahead? Great. So continuing on to our milestones, our substantial completion date remains July 8th. We've targeted the week of August 22nd for the move. And then our first day of school, targeting for September 6th or 7th. So hoping that the teachers will be fully moved in, obviously, before September. And then upcoming.
Alyssa?
Yep.
How come there's so much time between substantial completion and occupancy move?
Yeah, so we generally, at substantial completion, that means they're done with contract work, but it doesn't mean that they haven't finished the punch list. So at that point, when we get, approvals, we get affidavits, we get our final inspections, we get certificate of occupancy, we will still have some contractors in the building working on the punch list. So things like painting or, casework, anything that has to be adjusted, finalized, fixed. After RDA's final inspections, they'll go around and do a punch list to make sure that the building is acceptable. But as of substantial completion, that means they'll be done with their contract work.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
It does, yeah.
Okay, great, thanks. So just upcoming construction activities, we went through the 3-week look ahead. So just continuing the MEP work, continuing our site work, and then just getting ready to fire up those rooftop units, boilers, and things like that in the May timeframe. So we're just awaiting our switchgear, which is getting delivered the end of this month. So they'll have about a week or two to get that up and running, and then we'll begin our startup and testing. So that will happen for several weeks after. All right, so just continuing on, our following meetings will be May 9th and June 13th. So those are the second Mondays. And then just continuing to track our budget. So one thing I just wanted to quickly mention, we discussed a lot last meeting about FF&E, all of that technology and furniture that's going in the building. So we've been meeting with the superintendent, with IT, the principal, going through all of the final items and costs that we'll need for the building. So I'm working with those groups to get something on paper to show everyone of where we're at with costs for furniture and technology and how much we will need to tap into contingency with. So that will be very clearly communicated before the next meeting, so you have time to digest it. And then any decisions that need to be made, we'll add that into the agenda for the next meeting. And we're up to date with ProPay, so ProPay 29 is currently under review. I will mention that Sydney, out of our office, she works on all the MSBA projects, doing project controls for us. We met with Kathy and the finance person to go through the budget. So making sure that, we're up to date with what's left, what needs to be spent, and making sure we have enough money in the budget before we tap into any of the contingency funds. So we had a budget touch base, if you will. And so we're looking in good shape. So on schedule and on budget. That's my presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
I have one, Alyssa.
Sure.
Are you hearing anything about not, let's say, excluding FF&E? Are you hearing anything about any procurement delays or anything that might be out there for anything that's critical for opening the building?
No, I would say what we addressed in last meeting regarding the wireless access points and the switches, we have all of those now in our care. Those have been delivered, and those were two of the biggest items that we were worried about procurement wise. And so those new devices, we got our confirmed delivery date of October or November of this year. So I hope that gives everyone peace of mind that go ahead and getting those refurbished, warrantied switches and wireless access points was definitely in hindsight and now knowing that was a good move. So we will have all of those ready to go for the new building. And then some of the other things that we had been tracking have been ordered, like obviously the furniture we've ordered a few months ago at this point, just continuing to track when that comes. But we're really looking in good shape for all of the things that will require us to open the building as of right now.
So, Alyssa,
Yes.
it's Kathy Macedo. I just wanted to double check because I know we had talked about a July 8th as being completion of the building. So it's going on a little further and we're not able to move in until August 22nd. Is that
Yes, so-
allowing us enough time to move all this into all the rooms?
Yes, so a couple of things that are going to happen between now and July is coming up with basically an owner schedule. So a time when people will be doing punch lists, a time when all of the owners' vendors will be in installing any of the technology components, the networking components, anything that's going to be required from the district to be opening the building. So we'll have more, I guess, solidified dates of when all those things will be happening. But as for the substantial completion date has always been July 8th. And I guess what that means is that the building will be turned over to the owner, but that doesn't mean that we won't have subcontractors doing punch lists. And this is pretty typical around that time once we pass inspections and turn the building over with the C of O, with the certificate of occupancy. That's pretty typical to still have some punch lists being addressed and getting the owner up to speed with, getting computers hooked up and things like that.
Okay, because that's only going to give us, let's see, we start school, I better look at my calendar, but it looks like we start school like the week of the
7th.
5th. Is it the 7th? So it's the 7th. So we've got the 22nd. So we've got 2 weeks more or less to move in.
For the
And that's
teachers,
getting
yes.
computers hooked up and all of that kind of stuff.
So 2 weeks for the teachers to move in, but the IT folks and the people setting up the computers, imaging computers, whatever they need to do, that will be happening between that 60 days.
Alyssa is admin August 22nd as well then? Myself and Eric, I'm just curious.
So I guess this is up for discussion a little bit more with Derek and with you, Dennis, but we had talked about the teachers moving in, the moving company moving in the teachers that week of the 22nd.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
So,
just to let you know, we are going to have other moves going on. Hopefully we can start them when school ends, excuse me. But we're already going to be pretty busy moving things around to other schools.
Yeah, so we've actually had a moving logistics meeting, Kathy, with Derek and the facilities director. So it's about 5 schools. So it's inter-school moves. So
Okay.
we're capturing all of that
You
for
put
that
in
week.
mind. Okay. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure we'd have enough time.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
so if I could, this is Mike, Alyssa, to sort of piggyback on Kathy's question, and I just want to make sure I understand it correctly. So between July 5th and August 22nd, the furniture is going to be moved into the building as well, correct?
That's right. Yep. So our furniture delivery date was targeting July 15th.
Okay.
So in order, to have all the computers set up, imaged, ready to go, that would happen, I think, over 3 weeks is what Michael had said. So that would give us about 2 weeks to get the furniture up and 3 weeks to get IT in to do what they need to do.
Okay.
Just to be clear for everyone, what Alyssa's alluding to is that a substantial completion would be the July 8th. It's not to say that certain spaces wouldn't be ready or earlier ready for occupancy of personal belongings. We're going to coordinate that really closely as we move forward. And there may be sections of the buildings or floors of the buildings that usually they punch the upper floors first and work their way out. The second floor may be earlier than that, but we just want to be conservative to show specific dates. Then if we can increase those timelines, we will as we move forward. That's all.
My last question, if I may. When does the cleaning fit in? Because
I
if
can
you're gonna
try-
have folks in there working, whatever you've cleaned, they're gonna be making
Yeah, so
dust
in the
and whatnot.
in the contract, they owe a construction clean before C of O, and then usually we do like a white glove clean before
Okay.
school move-in. So that's all owned by the contractor.
Okay,
So Alyssa and Joe, can I suggest that for the next meeting, you have sub tasks here? Because you understand it's a quantum leap in thinking to go from substantial completion to we're in, and school's starting. So obviously the furniture, the technology, and then Joe, I'm hoping that you can plan to stagger release areas and be conservative to the benefit of the school moving in as opposed to the benefit of the contractor being able to continue to do this stuff. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So I think Alyssa and I will just sit down. We'll put a comprehensive schedule from substantial completion to actually occupancy and show you the course of events that'll occur. It's all going to hinge on, obviously, the list of punch lists remaining. I know Agostini has been very fluent and comprehensive to make sure that the contract work is done as they move forward. So we'll know a lot more as we move closer to the end of May, beginning of June, to show those timelines and that sequence of how that operation should occur.
Thanks. And maybe a technicality, but question. When I think of substantial completion, I think of everything we're buying. So is the FF&E considered part of the contract?
No.
As substantial completion?
So substantial completion, the actual term is for the building's ready for its intended use. That means it's substantially complete. And then we got to just make sure and during that process, they're responsible to make sure all the building life safety issues are addressed, all of the smoke alarm, the fire alarms operational, all of that. The building use of that, or the furniture, the personal belongings, and the staging of the school's ownership of that happens shortly thereafter. So we'll coordinate it from July 8th through September. Alyssa, she's done a phenomenal job on a number of different projects. She's showing you these timelines to show you what the contractual dates are. She's also going to show you what the schedule is going to be as we move forward, as the efficiency occurs.
Okay, sounds good. Question for Kathy Macedo. Kathy, you mentioned other moves. Those are outside of this contract, right?
yes,
But
Okay.
John, we've included those as part of our
That-
scope
that's-
and entertaining, exactly when those moves and coordinating it with the mover. So Alyssa's been really fluent about meeting with them regularly just to ensure that the timelines meet it and how that sequence is going to happen in the coordination with the general contractor. So she's well aware of that as well.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, hi, Superintendent.
How you doing? Sorry, I was between a few meetings here. Just wanted to kind of reiterate what has been said here. I know that what Alyssa's saying in terms of that date, people kind of a little bit maybe feel like they need to be breathing in a paper bag, but I feel like right now we've had several meetings about the moves, and what she is explaining is indeed that of the teacher materials that are coming over that week. And what I would say is we too, as a district, are allowing our teachers on the last day of school without their students to finish packing up their rooms, labeling it. They'll have their room assignments as to where the materials need to be delivered. So, that week of the 22nd of August would be those materials being moved to 500 South Street from 166 Mount Prospect. And then the other moves that we have in the district, we've already started to coordinate as well. So I don't want folks to feel as though, conversations haven't been had. We've had multiple conversations about the logistics of the move, and I'm confident that we have a very solid plan in place in order to make sure these multi-tiered moves are done so efficiently. So just kind of wanted to throw that out there because I did kind of come in a little bit late to the conversation because, like I said, I was in another meeting that's still going on in the conference room. So.
All right, well, thank you. Yeah, so that other schedule, those milestones, Alyssa, that I mentioned, maybe that's just a separate schedule as opposed to you updating the main meeting presentation, because those are going to be a little bit in flux. But something that we can just see, get a feel for it. But I
Absolutely.
wasn't concerned, just, we're getting close, so we're tracking the more finite elements now. All right, any more questions for the OPM update? All right, we're going to move on to the designer update.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Gene.
I sent out a memo very late, an hour and a half ago, I think. So what I thought I'd do is just go through it. It's fairly simple, but is that okay if I just share my screen?
Sure.
All right, great. Can you all see this the memo?
Yes.
Okay, great. So there are two things we want to do tonight, if you don't mind. One is another change order. Every month there's one. So the one that's being recommended for payment tonight is change order number 12, and it's for $14,050.26. After it's approved, assuming it gets approved, you're still, kind of at 1.1 or 1.2% of change orders, and you're almost opening the building, so that's great. And if you take out that $132,000 for the site issue over by the senior center, you're under 1% change orders, which is, again, just putting in perspective, and pretty good. Change order 12 has 3 items. PCO 54 is an ad. It's only $575. It's got a bunch of miscellaneous things, but it's like a deduct. Oh, I'm sorry. This is for turning what was a shower room and a changing room in the nurse's suite into a second bathroom for the nurse's suite, which, you guys approved going forward with that many meetings ago, and I think the paperwork's just catching up. But the deleting the shower, adding the plumbing fixtures, moving the pipes around, doing finish on the wall that was going to be unfinished behind the shower, it all netted out at $575. So that's a pretty straightforward one. The next one is PCO 55, which is an addition of $3,392. And up on the second floor in the Maker Lab, behind the Maker Lab, the library, the art, one of the art rooms is a outdoor deck, right, facing the, I guess, the back of the building, you'd say. There are a couple man doors here and there, just regular doors that you walk through. But on the at the art room, there's a maybe it's a Maker Lab. I apologize. There's an overhead, like a garage door, and as John was going through the detailing of it and kind of, I guess, in his mind, making sure, he's always nervous about water coming in, getting blown in. So he suggested, or he and Bacon came up with suggestions for kind of increasing the, making the waterproofing right around this door. And it's always hard because there's not a threshold. The threshold has to be almost flat, and you can't have a curb. In other words, if water is getting blown, you want to make sure it can't go under the door. Anyway, so there's about $3,300 of kind of additional detailing around that door, which has been vetted. We feel it's the right number, and we recommend that it be done. And then the final one is an ad. It's $9,500 to the I don't even know who's doing it. I think the Terrazzo sub. And then, with the markups, it comes out to $10,082.81. And I think they're starting the Terrazzo either today or tomorrow. But in order to do that and maintain their warranty, they are requiring a vapor barrier of some sort be placed between the top of the concrete slabs and the bottom of the terrazzo. This is something, it was not in our specs. It has never been in our specs, and we've done terrazzo in a bunch of places. So last time we did terrazzo was 2016. And the installation just went down in accordance with our specs. But so maybe over the last 5 years, all of a sudden the industry has said that maybe there was a problem somewhere or something, I don't know. But oh no, we're not. We're going to put this moisture barrier because we don't want any moisture coming up through the concrete and lifting the terrazzo. So we are both recommending that this be approved. Obviously, it's going to make the job safer, right? Less chance for problems, but I'm not even sure that we could go forward with a terrazzo sub would go forward unless this happened. So between the 10,000, the 3,300, and the 575, the change order is $14,050. I don't know. Does anyone have any questions on that? Those items? And Alyssa or Joe, I'm not sure when you actually vote for change orders. So if you want me to pause, I'm happy to, or I can just finish our report. Or John.
Yeah, it's item 9 on the agenda, so
Okay.
It's pretty straightforward. So I would say finish your designer update, and then we'll take it in proper order.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions on that, on these 3 items?
All
right.
So the only other item, we wanted to start thinking, as you're getting near to completing the building, right, and opening it. I wanted to, not looking for any decisions, and all of you have this memo, so you have the pictures you're going to see. But maybe you can think between now and next month's meeting about how you might want to treat the dedication plaque. So every public building typically has a dedication plaque, and it's, it marks the year the building was constructed. And I think kind of more importantly, all the players, and I always think of you guys, I mean, we're getting paid, but you guys are putting years and years of your time into this. And so it's appropriate and it's typical that there are various people acknowledged on the plaque. And just as an example, this is a plaque that we just did for a new school up in Marblehead. And the OPM's on it, the architect's on it, the construction manager, and the MSBA is acknowledged. They chose to say thank you to the citizens of Marblehead for your generous support, blah, blah, blah. When it's opened, maybe a town seal. But this is the kind of stuff that, you might want to consider what groups or what people you'd want to have on your plaque. And I've carried this in your packet, which again, I emailed out to everybody so you can start thinking about it. And what we did in Marblehead is we actually created a little recess in the main lobby. And then the plaque, it's been installed there now, but the plaque kind of got installed there. So it's a very nice kind of part of the architecture. And when we get to your lobby, Steve just did up a couple of these quick little renderings. So this is about the size, this is the size of the one that we did in Marblehead, which is about 4 feet 4 inches wide, and believe it or not, 3 feet 4 inches tall. So it's pretty sizable, but there's a lot going on here. And again, we're happy to do a layout for you. It could be like this, or it could be anything else. If you had a bunch of people you wanted to acknowledge. But if you came in the front door, the main office is over here on the left, and the hallway to the pre-K is the openings here, which you can't see, but there is some wall. There's not a lot of wall space in the lobby that's not either display cases or glass, but there's a wall here where we could create a framing in this vertical wood over by the bridge. And this is the hallway that goes down to the pre-K. We haven't shown the walls beyond because we were just studying the lobby, but we could create a nice enclosure for it, whatever shape the plaque ends up being. And this is just one more view. If you came up from the cafeteria, up the stairs and into the lobby, this is the main door going out toward the front of the building and the office. And this, again, is the hallway to the pre-K, but it doesn't look like a hallway. But that gives you kind of a sense. It's appropriate that it be in the lobby somewhere. Again, I think just to honor all the work that you guys have done. So again, not looking for any decisions, but maybe people want to start thinking about what they might want on the dedication plaque. Oh, by the way, this is in the contract. This is in Bacon's contract. So there's no cost implications to this, unless you make it 10 feet tall and 6 feet wide.
These never take less than 10 weeks. So that's why we're bringing it up now, to make sure that this thing can get made and done in the July timeframe. I've never seen it take less than 10 weeks. So by the time you guys get back and forth with who's and where and the proofreading and the fabrication, so it's something we need to seriously consider.
So, John, this is Mike. Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Thanks, John. So I actually would rather not list, personal preference, I would rather not list anyone's names, but rather the bodies. So it would just say school committee, buildings, the school building committee, the voters of Bridgewater, the town council, whatever body we want to put on. I would actually rather spend more of the space talking about the building and who it's named after, and the impact he had on our community. So that's my own personal preference. So Gene, I don't know if you've done plaques like that before, but I would rather see us do that than you use space to put people's names. That, again, my own preference there.
We could certainly do that. And years ago, I took a picture when I was in Mitchell at the Middle. I was in one of the offices and they had a little thing with George's photograph and a little story about him. I think that would be really nice. We could even weave in some of the thoughts about why we have things growing up through the building, so to speak, the thought of growth. And I'll say one other thing. I still think you guys have worked your butts off, so maybe we find a place for this plaque and maybe we find a place for another plaque honoring George Mitchell, but I'll just throw that out.
Yeah, so that's, I guess, maybe on the minimalist end of a plaque, plus what you just described. I don't know if you have any other examples, but so John, you said 10 weeks. So
Yeah, I'm just, the days will turn into weeks, will turn into months. It's just one of these things that everyone thinks will happen immediately, but it doesn't. So I'm just cautioning you. I've never seen it take less than 10 weeks. So,
Because there's a lot of back and forth,
Yeah,
with
it's
laying
just-
it out, getting it checked,
yeah,
changing.
it's natural. And when it finally goes to the sign maker, it has to be perfect because, you know, he's going to spend $5,000 or whatever he spends on it. And it's going to come out, it's going to be bronze and it's going to be done. And it's embarrassing when there's an H instead of an E or an S instead of a K. So we need to, it takes a while.
so that's May timeframe then, right?
Well,
Right.
that's, if we started April 15th, it would be lucky to have it July 1. Right?
Right.
So that's why we're talking about it now. When we're doing the other signs, which we're getting all the other signs for the building ready to go, this is the natural time to start thinking about this. You have 10 to 12 weeks before substantial completion or before move-in. So this will give us a chance to get it in during the summer and have it ready for when you open in September. So,
But again, we're not looking for you to make decisions tonight. Like, you know, if we get a sense, maybe there's a couple of different options, but we can just lay out some things. And I don't know if you form a subcommittee or I just send it to everybody or whatever, but you know, we're happy to start working on it.
If I could, John, suggest that the communications subcommittee look at this. Just as
Yeah.
a,
Yeah, I think that would be good, Michael. Plus, the town manager's not on, so I'd like to get his angle, but just to frame it time-wise. So I think we have to set in motion probably at the next committee meeting, because that's May 9th. At least what direction we want to go, and then there's time to, you know, to review the actual text and proofing of it before it gets issued, say, in June. Does that make sense, John? So if we approved it at the June 13th meeting, the final draft, and like you said, it could be circulated, that would be June, July, August, that'd be
That'd be
kinda
fine.
close. But
if
it's not
if
like
it was
we can't open the
manufactured
meeting.
and installed in August, that'd be perfect. Even if it's late August, it's gonna take 10 minutes to install it, so. But we
Yeah.
gotta be ready for it with everything, any details we have to do to make preparations for it, a recess in the Rulon panels, so it just,
Right.
it's got a lot of moving parts, and I just don't want to diminish it because it's a list of names or a list of something. It's important, and the time gets gobbled up very quickly, and all of a sudden you're like, oh crap. So
Gene, could I make a recommendation maybe that you provide a couple of passes on the sign itself to the committee in between now and the May 9th meeting? That way they have a chance to digest your options and then have commentary back to you.
Yeah, no, that's no problem, Joe. I don't know, like picking up on Michael's idea about if we could work with the PR group.
Yeah.
I just, you know,
Why don't you do that, Gene? And then they can engage the committee at the right time, right? So we're not all in the back and forth.
Yeah. Does this general, see, I don't know, would you want the city council on there, the town manager? So Michael Dolan, I don't know if your committee would feel comfortable making decisions like that, or you want some more feedback from people?
yeah, so if I could ask those on the call how they feel, I expressed my opinion. Others may not agree with that, and that's okay, but it's just one of those things that I think it would, because I would like to get more, yes, more feedback full committee. Again, I'd rather spend the plaque space on talking about who George was versus a bunch of names that really, let's be honest, in 15 years, nobody's gonna care who we were.
Mike, they're gonna remember you forever. I wouldn't say that quickly.
So how about an informal poll? I'll go first. I'm on the minimalist end. So not really inclined to want to list all the names, even of the volunteers like I am. I'm just telling you my opinion. Anybody else want to offer up their opinion? You don't have to.
Sure, John, I will. I think it's a pretty standard plaque, and I think there's a way to do both, as I think Joe recommended. We had a pretty comprehensive plaque at Southeastern, but we didn't, it wasn't named after anybody. So this is a little different. And I definitely think the town manager should be on there for all the work that he's done. I know he's paid for it, but I think volunteers should be recognized. I don't think it should be left off.
Thank you.
I would tend to agree that if you can do both, that would be best. You know, we can have our cake and eat it too. I don't feel very strongly about it. If we felt, if we couldn't fit both in, I'd be okay with having the more minimalist approach. That'd be fine.
Thank you.
John, Pat.
Hi, Pat.
I really don't care. I just wonder, if we start listing everybody's names, where do we start and where do we end? Because we had a lot of people come and go, and I don't want to miss anybody. So I mean, we either got to make sure we remember everybody and figure out who's been on all these committees. I mean, are we just putting these names on it, or are we going all the way back? And that's why I think, I'm more on the side like you and Michael.
Good question. Yeah, we'd have to talk about that. Thank you.
John, I would sort of lean towards Michael's proposal as well. As long as if we're narrowing it down to like school building committee, that we don't miss critical people like the Bridgewater town manager and maybe others.
Right. Thank you. All right. So why don't we plan, Gene, if you could work with the communication committee, subcommittee, and then with the idea that, we come with maybe 2 layouts, maybe on both ends, if that's the way the committee ends up, just something to have so that we could either vote on it or give Gene the feedback so that they can finalize it with the, the final verbiage and proofreading and things like that, so that we can vote on it in June. If we could just kind of informally set that in place, I think that would be best. And then obviously we'll get the town manager engaged between now and those 2 meetings.
Sounds great. We'll totally do it. So Michael, we'll be in touch.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Gene, just make sure that OPM manager isn't mistaken like that left field on there right now. You want the best on that. So.
You got it. You got it. I guess we got to put bacon too, right?
You bet.
So that was that was what we had in our quiver tonight.
All right.
I'll stop sharing if that's okay.
Yeah, any more questions for the designer update? All right, thank you.
This one?
There's no wood panel on those walls. It's all
Thank you, Gene.
Well, maybe it's gonna be pronounced or something.
Item 8,
See that vertical? It doesn't exist.
Gene,
Oh,
you gotta mute yourself.
John's yelling at me already.
Well, that's okay. He doesn't have an off switch, does he?
He doesn't.
No, that's great. We like it that way.
Yeah, it's good. Thanks.
Item 8, approval of Bacon payment requisition number 15 with a vote required.
Can you see that?
We can.
Okay, great. So the total due this month is $2,904,247. As you know, we went through our regular back and forth, providing comments, making sure all the material backup was included. And so this is for the month of March. Is there a motion to
And
approve?
I'll make a motion for payment requisition number 15 in the amount of $2,904,247.
Is there a second?
Second, this is
Second.
Mike.
Go ahead, Mike.
Sorry, Mark.
Go ahead.
I'll second it then. Mike Dolan.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, let's take the roll.
John,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Harsh,
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
All right, thank you. Item 9, approval of Bacon change order number 12, vote required. And just as a reminder, Gene went over this in his designer update. And we can revisit it if there's any questions. Otherwise, we would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve change order in the amount of $14,050.26. This is Mike.
Matt Rushton will second that and hoping for a discussion.
Okay, why don't we discuss it?
Okay, I actually, Gene, less of a discussion, but through you, just as a reminder, in the effort of transparency, if we could get these documents before the day of the meeting in order to have more adequate time to review. I don't have any issue with what's in here. I'd like to get it sooner.
Yes, I totally understand. I just got the change order this morning, so this was a late one and I wasn't expecting it, so. But I do understand that.
No worries, appreciate it, thank you.
Yep.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, let's take the roll.
John,
Yes.
Michael, Michael.
Yes.
Thank you. Scott,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Harsh,
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Thank you. Item 10, report of the communication group.
Yep. So this Saturday, we'll be doing a virtual tour. Alyssa, myself, Mr. Rushton, and I believe Mr. Swenson. We'll be touring the building. We'll be recording it and sharing it out for the obviously the committee, but also the public as well. So that we're excited about doing this and sort of getting it out there. So that's the big thing. Obviously now the plaque is the next, and then believe it or not, work still continues on the ribbon cutting ceremony. We do not have a date yet. That obviously will be fluid based on the start of school, moving the whole bit. So we do have work to do there still. So that's all I have. Alyssa, did I miss anything?
You also toured the building.
Oh yeah, that's right. I toured the building 2 weeks ago, 2 Fridays ago, I think, with Pat and Harsh. So everything's looking good. The more I tour it, or the more anyone tours it, they'll see the progress. So I'm excited to continue to see the progress as it goes.
So I heard there was a rumor that if you had any questions that you wanted the tour guide to ask or items to specifically film, that we could just call your cell phone and leave a voicemail, Michael? Is that, no? Okay.
I don't know who's spreading that rumor, but
Well, at least we're not recording. Oops.
Sorry,
have
Mike,
a-
I gave away
I-
that information, sorry.
I'll put his cell phone number in the chat feature.
Mark, did you have your hand up?
Yeah,
And I talked. I'm
I was
sorry.
just wondering if others could take a look at it at some point. Could I make arrangements to go down?
Yeah, generally, after the end of the day on a Friday or around lunchtime on a Friday is usually good.
Okay.
Just so we're minimizing how many people come through. Work boots, long pants, stuff like that. We'll give you a hard hat when you come in. But just optics wise, we're just trying to keep the tours very small. But feel free to reach out and I'll take you around. I'm usually there, at least 4 days a week.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 11, the next school building committee meeting. And that was May 9th. Meeting 68. Item 12, new business. Does anybody have any new business? All right, 13, public comment. All right, well, I'd like to thank everybody for their support and all the good work that's going in. The next item is adjourned, so I don't know if anybody has any comments or anything before we take a motion to adjourn. All right, well.
motion adjourn.
Second, Mark.
All right,
Michael,
Aye.
Scott,
Yes.
Mark,
Aye.
Matt,
Yes.
Harsh,
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved. The meeting adjourned.
Good night. Thanks.
Thank
Good night,
you.
Thank
everyone.
you.
Take care.